Welcome to this section about application deployment. The goal of this video is to discuss the steps that need to be taken to deploy applications to their respective stores. In this video, we will generate and set up the app icon and splash screen. We will also discuss the requirements for application deployment to each store. When deploying an application, it's imperative that your app has an icon and a splash screen to be identified in the App Store. When completing this task, you will need an assortment of images to work across all the different devices that your app can run on. Doing this manually can be challenging, so luckily there are tons of tools out there to help you through this process. So let's head over to Ape Tools to generate the assets we need for our app. For generating our app icon, we will need an image that is 1024 by 1024 pixels. And for our splash screen, we will need an image that is 4096 by 4096. I am using a generic React Native image that I resized myself. So for step 1 and 2, I'll select my images. Then step 3 will be selecting which devices we would like our assets to be generated for. So I'll select Android and iOS. After this step, you can select the Kapow button. Once that's done processing, I'll download the zip. The output will be called bundle that has an iOS and an Android directory with all the needed images. The Android directory has all the needed folders broken down by density. And the iOS folder has 2 folders, one for icon and the other for launch screen. The folder appicon.appiconset in the iOS folder is what contains the images for app icons. Now if we place that folder in our Xcode projects in the image.xc assets folder, that will set up our app icon for iOS. So in Terminal, let's open a Finder window for our project. So we can do this by navigating down to our iOS folder and typing open dot. Now we can move our app icon folder and overwrite the default one in the image.xc assets folder. Now we're ready to set up our iOS launch screen. One thing I would like to mention before continuing is that if you would like to see the new app icon, you will need to remove the app from your device or simulator and then reinstall. To set an iOS launch screen, let's open up our Xcode project for our app. So in Terminal, if you navigate back to the iOS directory and type open and then the Xcode project, that will launch Xcode. In the main project folder, you'll see a file called launchscreen.xib. Let's remove that file. Now you can right-click and add new launch screen storyboard. You'll select that file and that will open the storyboard. And I'll remove our app name and our text. Then in the Assets folder, we can right-click and add a new image set called Splash. Then you can add your images here through Finder. Now in the Launch storyboard, you want to add an image view. That can be done by selecting the Object Explorer, and then you can type Image and select Image View. Now to display the image, select the Attribute selector, and you should see an image drop down, and you can select your image set. For this example, I just set up a simple image set, but if you would like to handle multiple devices, that option is available in Xcode. To see these in action, you will need to completely remove the app from your simulator and reinstall. Once that's done, rerun the application using React Native Run iOS. Once that installs, you will see the app icon and our new splash screen. Now let's get this set up on Android. With Android, we will need to navigate down to our res directory, so you can follow the path from Android to app, source, main, in the res directory. You will place the contents of Ape Tools provided there. Now in the drawable directory, we will remove the assets and create a file called launch_screen_bitmap.xml. This will set up our schema to display the proper image. So let's paste in this XML. We're going to create an item that points at our splash background. Then we'll add another item with a nested bitmap that points to our drawable screen, and we'll tell it to fill the screen. So what this is doing is providing directions for our Android code for which directory to look at for display. Then I'll add a directory called mipmap-hdpi. This will map our app icon. And in this directory, I'll place my app icon and rename it as IC_launcher. Now below, in the values folder, we are going to make some changes. I'm going to create a file called colors.xml and place this XML in it. Within a resources tag, I'm just going to create an item called splash background with a type of color, and I'll pass in this hex code. Now within my styles XML, we will customize our mapping by setting the following items within the style tag. We'll create an item with the name Android window exit animation, and we'll have it fade out. And then we'll create another item with a window background, and we'll point that to our launch screen bitmap. Our final code change will be setting up our index.js to handle some Firebase issues by adding the following. We're going to add global symbol, and we'll require the ES6 symbol. And then from the JavaScript core, we're going to require iterator, map, set, and array/find. Great, and that will wrap up our coding. So let's run this in the Android simulator. Make sure to have an Android device running. Within terminal, you can then type React Native run Android. Then you should see our app icon and our splash screen. Now that we have our icons and splash screen set up, let's discuss some other items that will be needed to deploy your app. Once registered with your Apple developer account, you will need to file information about your app, such as category, description, and developer information. Aside from that, you will also need screenshots of your app on an iPhone and iPad. You'll need an app icon without transparency, which we've already implemented with 1024 by 1024 pixels. You'll also need a demo account if the app requires login. For Android, the Play Store has similar requirements to the iOS App Store, such as needing to define the category of the application, a 512 by 512 app icon of any shape, and it can be transparent, and you'll also need screenshots of your app in action. Let's take a moment to discuss React Native updates. As we have seen with our app development, a React Native app is composed of both native code and JavaScript. React Native exposes native APIs to use, but in some cases, that interaction is not needed. So when minor patches need to be applied to your app, you may have the option of an over-the-air update. Any major changes should always be submitted to the App Store. In this course, we will cover entry-level ideas for when it comes to deploying apps for React Native. But I wanted to make you aware of some tools that I encourage you to research and suggest you use in the future. Those apps are Fastlane, Visual Studio App Center, and Circle CI. All these tools will help you with continuous development and integration and simplify the development and deployment process.